Hello and welcome to the Run the Day podcast. I'm your host, Nick Simmons. With me, as always, is Kamala. How are you, Cam?
I'm great. It's a beautiful day in Oregon.
How hyped are you now after this? This was one of our most requested guests ever.
Yes, she is incredible. So authentic and just engages with her community, loves her fans.
Yeah.
I'm so inspired by her.
You know, I'm reading through this intro bio, which is the longest intro bio that we've gotten on a guest yet, and I can see why. Colleen is a woman of many talents. Here's a girl that was a professional model traveling around, could be making millions of dollars as a pro model, decides that the intrinsic value that running gives her is more important. And she decides to go the NCAA and pro running route instead. What can you imagine having that unique set of skills that she does?
Totally. And just making that decision, you know, big time models make a ton of money, but she knew what was going to make her happy. And at that time, she didn't know if she was going to be a professional runner.
Trying to make the decision at 18 too.
Yeah. And she chose that decision. And she said it's one of the best decisions of her life.
I've known a lot of pro runners in my life. And one of my criticisms about pros is that they're kind of single faceted, personalities that prefer to be alone and prefer to train and maybe not share a lot of themselves with people. Colleen's the exact opposite. She is an outgoing, effervescent personality, and she loves to interact with her fans. And you can tell why she's one of the biggest names in track and field.
Yeah, and why you guys wanted her on the show. You know, she reminds me of the female version of you.
Stop.
Engages with her community, and she's over there writing handwritten letters, signing autographs, mailing them out to her fans.
You guys, this is one of the best interviews we've had. You're going to like this one. Let's just dig in right now. Without further ado, it's Colleen Quigley. All right, here she is from Beaverton, Oregon, home of Nike World Campus. It's Colleen Quigley. Colleen, how are you doing?
Hey, what's up? Doing good.
What's the campus like today?
Oh my God, it is like 65 degrees and sunny.
Sounds like the perfect day for some strides on the grass.
Oh, how'd you know?
I follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, I know the weather is finally turning, and I've been injured, and it's a great time to get back outdoors and be running again because it's so nice out.
Well, congrats on getting healthy. We have so much running to talk, but I always like to start kind of at the beginning because I think we talk to so many successful guests, and there's so many lessons along the way that get you to where you are today, but we have to go all the way back to the beginning. So where did you grow up, Colleen?
Yeah, take it back. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. Grew up in the city of St. Louis. Went to Narings Hall High School, all girls Catholic high school.
Oh, wow. That's an experience.
College shirt. Oh, yeah, you know it. Started running track a little bit in grade school, but as any good runner, I was playing soccer and actually dancing too. Played soccer and danced when I was growing up, and then started really running once I got to high school.
Does your whole family run? I mean, I know your brother does. Is the whole family into it?
I mean, pretty much. I rejected running for a long time. Said I don't want to be a runner because my mom and dad both ran marathons back in the day. And then, my brother ran. He went to schools at Mizzou to run and ran steeplechase and 5K, and then also became a pro runner. And he was doing it. My parents were doing it, so I was like, I don't want to, but I finally succumbed to
kind of glad they talked you into it after all, huh?
It turned out to be not so bad.
It's an acquired taste. I hated running in high school, but you learn to love it eventually.
It's only fun when you're good at it, right? Or when you're in shape.
I always said, for me,
when I'm getting back into shape, it sucks. Running sucks.
It's horrible. Yeah, every single step hurts. I always thought, for me, I didn't even like it in college. I went to a crappy little D3 school. No offense, Willamette. But I didn't like it until it was my only thing that I had to do every day. Like, I always kind of resented how much time I had to spend running until it was the only thing I had to do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to go for a run now.
This is fun.
Yeah, then it was fun. So you're living the dream. You're living the dream of a lot of our listeners. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. Okay, so you finally get into running. Yeah, I'm glad you appreciate it. So your parents finally talked you into running. When would you say you started taking it somewhat seriously?
I guess my freshman year of high school, I ended up that fall I went out for cross country in order to stay in shape for soccer. That was the plan, soccer in the spring. But I just fell in love with the girls in the team and I guess the sport so much that I decided to not go out for soccer in the spring and did track instead. Also because my team was really good, or my school was really good at soccer, and I was not good. I was not that good at soccer. I didn't play select or anything. My team in grade school sucked, and so I was like, oh no, I'm gonna get cut. I'm not gonna make the freshman team for soccer. I just got nervous, and so track is no cut. I was like, I'll just do that. That was fun in the fall anyway. I'll just, let's do that. And then from there, it was just, I just started getting more and more serious about it. And by my senior year, I actually missed senior graduation because of the sectional meet. I had to go home at midnight from prom because I had districts the next day. So it was like, then I was making these sacrifices that, goes to show that I really cared about what I was doing and was pretty serious about it. But that developed, over 4 years.
Yeah. Absolutely. You don't have, that's what I tell young kids. They say, well, what should I be doing as a freshman? I'm like, have fun.
Exactly.
Because you can burn out in that sport real quickly at 14.
Oh, yeah.
And there's 4 years, which is an eternity when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
4 years to get a little bit more focused and a little bit more passionate about it. But I mean, 14, just have fun.
That's what I think is cool about it too, Colleen, is you mentioned in your bio, you had no pressure to go out to be, doing track and field and competing. And I think now parents are forcing that upon their kids. You need to be so good your freshman year. And then they're not having fun. They're quitting by their junior year.
Maybe in a sport like gymnastics where you peak at 14. But in the world of running, you don't have to be the world's best at 14.
Be good by 30.
Totally. Yeah. In fact, if you're really, really good at 14 and overtraining,
you're probably going to burn out quick.
The probability of making it to the Olympics is pretty slim just because, burnouts are really high at that point.
Absolutely. But, I think that there is an opportunity when you decide to go to college, should you decide to run in college, that's really the point where you can start saying, okay, how serious am I going to take this? How much of my time and energy, which is very valuable in college, you're being pulled in 100 different directions.
Oh, yeah.
How much of that am I going to devote to this sport? And you went to FSU, Florida State. Were you there for all 4 years?
Go Noles. I was there for 4 years.
Nice. That's a beautiful place to run. I've done some training down there.
Oh my gosh. People don't know that, but it really is.
You have trails for miles.
Yeah. We called it Trailahassee.
Oh, I like it.
That's awesome.
Did you enjoy your time there?
It was amazing. I loved it. Yeah, Coach Harvey was my coach for around 3.5 years, kind of, when I was there. She was incredible. She sold me on the program and her vision of what she saw for me as an athlete and for our team as a whole. And I bought in completely and worked really, really hard for her, trusted her completely. And she was the one that told me, hey, I want you to come to Florida State. I want you to run the steeplechase. I had never considered running the steeple before she came along, but somehow she saw that in me when she saw me running. She saw me running cross country, actually, my senior year, and she said that to me. I want you to come to Florida State and run the steeple. I was like, okay, lady.
All right, nice lady, whatever you want. That sounds fun.
Yeah, full ride. Okay, I'll do it.
What'd you think of that first steeplechase when you ran it for the first time?
It was,
it was different.
I fell in love with it right away. I remember the first time. I'm helping coach with Portland State now, and we have some steeplechasers, a good steeple crew, actually. And earlier this spring, we had them out there at the water pit for the very first time. We'd done all these drills, all this preparation, but there's nothing, left to do. You just have to jump over the water. And so we had them out there. They did in the grass a couple times, and then we're like, all right, here you go. And I remember watching them do that. I remembered my first time jumping over the pit where, it was like, this is it. You just got to go. And I remember doing it, running up to it, planting a foot on it, launching myself over. I had one foot in the water, the next foot was on the track, and I kept running. And I was like, I looked back at my coach, I was like, and she was like, you're a steeplechaser.
It takes some guts. That is a tough event.
Scary.
Yeah.
It felt so good, and it was like, yeah, this is it for me. And I loved it. I ran 10:13.
Wow.
My first race.
Pretty darn good opener.
Yeah, not bad.
My S Corp. My personal business is 10:13 now.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome.
That's really cool.
Gotta start somewhere.
And at that time, you had to make a tough decision, right? You were also modeling, traveling the world, and that's kind of when you committed to running, was when you decided to go to college, right?
True. Yeah, I had to make that decision. There's a fork in the road of, do you want to go pursue a career as a professional model? I was going to move to New York, and I had this agency I was going to work with, and make a ton of money and be famous. It was going to be great. And then, I'm 18 years old. And then this other opportunity to go to school for free and be part of the NCAA. I was like, what's that? And run this event called the Steeplechase. I was like, what's that? And I don't know. I just was like, I think this is something that I could really be proud of. Like when I won the state title my senior year of high school. I worked for 4 years for that. I didn't win it until my senior year in the spring for track, and I couldn't even win it any of the 4 years for cross country. I worked really hard, but could never do it. And then track, I won that state title, and it felt so good to work so hard for something and then finally be like, yes, like I freaking did that. You know, it wasn't anyone else. I mean, I had so many people that were supporting me, and my dad was coaching me and everything, but you know, that was me, and I was so proud of it. And I never felt that way about any like modeling stuff that I had done, no cover that I made or cool magazines I was in. Like, it felt cool, but it didn't feel like, yeah, I did that in the same way. And so I think in the end that's why I decided to go.
so rewarding about running, you know, like
Yeah,
no, it's not, it's a team sport in some sense, you know, when you're scoring points for the team, but there's when you're on that starting line, it's just you and the amount of miles that you have given yourself as a gift, right? The strength that you have in your legs that you've given yourself. And you know, a lot of people help you, you know, every single Olympian, every single world champion, somebody's helped them get there, but it's you and the hard work that you've done.
It's all you.
Exactly. You're there by yourself. It can be intimidating and scary, but you've always handled the pressure really well. Where do you think that comes from? You're a very mentally strong athlete as well.
Oh gosh. Well, I wouldn't say that I've always been that way, but I have figured out throughout the years some tips and tricks for myself, at least. Yeah, in high school, I struggled a lot with, like I said before, my dad was my coach, and I struggled a lot with just putting a lot of pressure on myself and being really competitive with others and with myself. I mean, I didn't even want to try out for the soccer team because I was too afraid that I was going to get cut and I wouldn't make the team. So I didn't even try out. You know, I was terrified of failure. I was terrified of coming short or letting myself or others down. And so a lot of times that would affect my performance, even in practice, but also, you know, in races where I had workouts even as, you know, as long ago as maybe 30 or 40 years ago, where I would get so like worked up or nervous that I would almost feel like I'm like having an asthma attack or something, where I'm like, I can't breathe, but it's really just like getting panicky and worked up about, I'm, you know, not running my splits. I'm not doing the workout the way the coach prescribed. And so that's, you know, as you're saying, like you have it all together. It might look like that on the outside because there are days, but you know, it's not always like that. And even when there are really good days, the month leading up to that good day had plenty of not good days mixed in there. You know, it's always up and down. And I've had a lot of injuries throughout my career as well. And those are definitely trying times that end up making me really strong mentally as well as physically.
I'm glad you recognize that. You're a very young runner still. You have so many years ahead of you, should you decide to pursue that. And I'm on the back end, and I wish at your age I had appreciated, you know, that sometimes those hard times are what make you a stronger person and that get you some perspective on it. And I just remember those injuries. I like to throw a big pity party for myself, and I remember just being pissed off and throwing stuff against the wall and grabbing a 6-pack of beer and be like, well, I'm gonna punish. I would literally look at my body and I'd be like, I'm gonna punish you for not keeping up and getting injured. And I would drink 12 beers, and that of course helped me get healthy, right? Yeah, so I would I'd completely spiral out of control, dig myself into these huge holes, and I wasn't as mature as you are. So a lot of respect for the athlete that you are today.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a 12-pack of beer kind of girl. But
yeah. What's your
half of 3/4 bottle of wine?
Oh, there you go. I was wondering. Every athlete has their vice. If it's just a little bit of wine now and then, I think that's not so bad.
Our region over here. It's
you're
hard not to.
Colleen, you're just supporting local businesses, okay?
Exactly. The Willamette Valley.
Willamette Valley, they need me.
Speaking of local businesses, the other day I said, you know what sucks about pro runners? They're so boring. And I specifically said, you know who's not though? Colleen Quigley. I named 3 runners and you were one of them. You are so fantastic on Instagram, on social, and you really you're a young budding entrepreneur. You have all of these different things going on, whether it's the website or the newsletter or the granola. Well, I don't even. Which one do you want to hear first, Cam? Because she's got so many of these irons in the fire.
I want to hear about the granola.
Yeah, tell us about the granola.
Okay, I'll tell you about the granola quick, and then I have a question for you, Nick.
Okay.
Flip this around on
yeah,
you.
sure.
Look out. Yeah, so I guess a couple years ago now, it's been a while, I started making granola from scratch because I was eating granola at night with plain Greek yogurt and berries and granola as my dessert.
Very
When I
healthy
was in
dessert. Yeah.
training, yeah, I'm in training. I'm the biggest sweet tooth. I got it from my mama. God bless her. She has a big sweet tooth too. And so, yeah, I'll be in training and I don't want to eat ice cream, but I get done dinner and I'm not hungry. I just want something
Just needed something
to
sweet.
satisfy that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm going to, figure out a workaround here. Sometimes I blend up like a frozen banana and make like a little banana, quote unquote ice cream. But sometimes it's, just yogurt and granola. Anyway, so I was doing this and then I looked at the granola that I was eating and it had like 20, 25 grams of sugar in it.
Wow.
And I was like, dang it. Like, that's totally beside the point.
Yeah, you're like, I want to satiate my sweet tooth, but not like just blow up on granola.
Have more sugar than ice cream.
Totally. And it's right before I go to bed too. So I'm like, this is stupid. So, and the good stuff is, the more wholesome stuff is so expensive. So I was like, all right, I'm going to just do it myself. Like, this can't be that hard. So I was looking up some recipes and tinkering around in the kitchen. I love to cook and stuff. So tinkering around, and I made this recipe that's full of nuts and seeds and coconut oil and a little bit of maple syrup to make it a little
delicious.
And
I like it.
Got lots of healthy fats, medium chain triglycerides from the coconut oil and healthy fats from your nuts and seeds, but still giving you like that crunch with that sweet cold yogurt that I was really looking for after dinner. So I started doing that, and then like I'd do it at altitude camp, and the whole house would smell amazing when I cooked the granola, and so my teammates would be like, "What are you doing? Like, we want some of that." And then my boyfriend got a hold of it, and he'd finish the whole thing in like 2 days. And so he's like, "You should start selling this." And I don't really have like, I don't have that like entrepreneur mind really. So he would say like, "You should sell this. This should be a business." And I was like, "You're crazy. Like, no one's going to buy this." But I started doing giveaways on my Instagram. I would like,
I remember those. Nice they were very popular.
People wanted it.
People would do anything for them. It was so funny. I could like get them to do push-ups and like pull-ups and awesome. All this stuff. And then I'd send out the jars of granola, which got really expensive because shipping glass jars is, FYI, not cheap.
Oh, yeah, we know all about shipping costs here. Yeah, I'll teach you some secrets on that.
All about the logistics.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not easy, I always say, the pro athlete, your job is in a 24/7 job. It's to be the best athlete you can be. So having fun with granola while it's helping fuel you is a great thing, but necessarily building out a business on top of that, probably not what is your priority at the moment.
Exactly. So that's why I'm kind of, I haven't taken it any further. I have the nutrition facts. I have my logo.
Nice.
I have the granola, like GRUN. And so I'm doing like, I've got everything kind of set up, but I'm just kind of waiting until I'm ready to actually do it.
I'll tell you this. I don't think. Real quick, I was just going to say, I don't think the demand for granola is going to go anywhere. So the day you decide you want to scale this thing, let me know, and we're going to make this thing like massive.
I love it. So it's funny that you said that, you're focusing on being a athlete. It's a full-time job. And like, that's your number one priority, which is 100% true. But I have like kind of started doing a few different things. I built my own website and I have a newsletter now. And I have this movement on Instagram for young women and empowering young women. And, I get my support staff. I don't have an agent anymore, but I used to have an agent, and just coaches, especially people like that who are supporting me, who are very worried that I don't have my priorities in the right place.
Well, I never heard that, did I? Yeah.
Right.
Nick can
so
relate.
My question for you is like, I'm sure people said that to you because you were not only like just.
No, I always had a few things going on.
The couch the rest of the day, right?
Well, so I'm gonna tell you just a quick, I'll tell you a 90-second synopsis of how that got started. So I went to college, and in college, I was a biochemistry major. I worked a part-time job as a flower delivery boy. I ran cross country and track, and I was in a fraternity. So I would wake up at 6 a.m. and I would literally have every hour of the day scheduled out until midnight. And I absolutely loved it. I loved being busy. And then when I turned pro, I said, okay, now Nick, you have to live the life of a pro. And that means, 24/7 is training, it's sleeping, it's eating. And yeah, exactly. And I always had so much respect for athletes that could do that. If I could have done that, I could have been a better runner. But I think I would have burned out pretty quickly. So I recognized after those first 6 months of kind of just sitting there from noon to 5 every day looking at the ceiling, I said, I'm going to need more, or mentally I'm going to burn out.
Yeah.
And so my mentor, my best friend, Kamala's father, Sam LaPre, he said, Nick, we got to have something more for you. You just have a big engine, and you're going to have to have something that's not track and field related. Not just to fill up my time, but also when things maybe weren't going well with track and field, here's something I can throw myself into so I don't kind of like fixate on my career. So Kamala at the time was working, you're an Oregonian, you may recognize the name. She was working at a tanning salon called Tan Republic.
Oh my God, for sure. There's one on 21st.
They're everywhere.
Yep.
They're everywhere, but in 2009 they weren't in Eugene or Springfield. Sam and I had never been tanning before, but Cam's 16 at the time. She said, you guys should go check out Tan Republic. They're doing great.
Yeah.
We checked it out. The numbers were phenomenal, and we bought the rights to franchise Tan Republic in the Eugene Springfield area. And
oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
That's how Run Gum technically got started. We are Gold Medal Inc., which started out as Gold Medal LLC DBA Tan Republic. And that business has then morphed into Gold Medal Inc., DBA Run Gum. But for about 4 or 5 years there, Cam, Sam, and I, we were in the tanning business.
Yeah, look good, feel good.
Hilarious.
I'd go to practice, and from noon to 5, I'd sit there and just strategize how I was going to be like the tanning king of Eugene and Springfield.
And we did pretty decent. We had top sales for Kim Kardashian's lotion, so she invited us
to meet Kim
to
Kardashian.
lunch.
I remember that.
You met her?
Oh, we did. Went to lunch with her.
She was very sweet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So that's a long and weird story about saying you have to be true to yourself. And Colleen, you are a go-getter. You're a hustler. You have a big engine. And if you tried to live that, monk lifestyle where you just holed up in a cabin and trained and didn't have anything else, you would burn out very quickly. So when people say you got your priorities mixed up, just say, hey, I need to have this outlet so that when I am on the track, I can be the best athlete that I can be.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to ever get to a point where it's taking away from what I could do on the track. Like when I look at myself in college, like what you were saying about getting up at 6 and go until midnight.
Yeah.
I mean, I got more than 6 hours of sleep at night, but it was more like 7 maybe.
Yeah.
And I was on the Student Athlete Advisory Council. I was in like 2 different leadership groups with not athletic related leadership groups on campus.
You like to be busy.
Captain.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
College. Yeah, I was like, how did I freaking do all that stuff? Now, I can't imagine being as busy as I was taking a full class load and doing cross country, indoor and outdoor. I never had an off season. It was crazy, but I also loved it, and I thrived off being busy and having all these things going on. It made me really happy.
Yeah.
And I think still that way, and I just find other things now. I don't have like obligations as far as like going to school and studying chemistry, blah.
As a chemistry major, I double blah that.
What was your major, Colleen?
I studied dietetics, so I had to take like chem and biochem and anatomy and all that stuff.
Blah.
But
just as hard.
That was brutal. But all I wanted to take was the stuff that was like about
making granola.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like when we eat, how does that affect our bodies and what we eat and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you have to take all the basics in order to get to the good stuff. So we had to take all the chemistry and anatomy and physiology and all that stuff. So it was tough.
It helped you formulate a fantastic product, and so you've got that. I always joke. I said, "Why did I get this stupid biochem degree? I don't use it at all." And someone said, "Didn't you use it when you developed Run Gum?" I'm like, "Hey, yeah, I did." So maybe it wasn't a complete waste of 4 years.
Small details.
All right, now let's get into we're going to make Cam's eyes roll, but let's nerd out on running a little bit. How's the training been? What's the season opener? Curious minds are very excited to find out what's happened this season.
Sure. So the indoor season ended end of February and got injured like 1 week after that.
Oh, no.
Which was awesome. At least it held out through the indoor season, so that was good. I got my first ever national title.
It was a great race. Congratulations.
It was so fun. So at least it held out until the end of that race, and then pretty much blew up right after that. So I've been out since then, but this week I was able to. Last week I ran every single day of the week, which is the first time since indoors that I was able to do that. And today I did strides. I think Thursday I'll try a little fartlek, see how that goes. For all those, maybe non run nerds, that means like a speed play workout.
Yeah, you got Cam's over here like fartlek. I think it's Scandinavian of some country.
I think it's like German.
Is it German? Fartlek, one word.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cam,
I'm ready for one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so then maybe a season opener in June or July.
Yeah, I think the end of May we're gonna go to altitude. My team does a lot of altitude training.
I love altitude
training.
Yeah.
Yeah, love hate it. It's such a love hate thing.
For sure.
It sucks for me it sucks for like 3 weeks, and then we're usually there for 4 or 5 weeks.
So just as you start to feel good, you come back home.
Is like pretty good.
Yeah.
And then we come down and race.
Yeah.
So I think for a race, I think I'll probably open up at Pre, which this year is going to be at Stanford, and they're hosting a women's Diamond League steeple where you get points and everything for the first time ever at Pre. So
cool.
That's awesome. We'll come watch you.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna
be special. Pre here as a Eugene resident, we're so sad that we won't have Prefontaine Classic this year.
Oh, that's right. Where is it?
Stanford. Yeah. It's gonna be a really great night of athletics.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to go down.
It's weird that it's not at Hayward Field, but I actually have great memories at Stanford too. If it can't be at Hayward, like the one other place I'm excited about is Stanford.
Especially for a distance runner, right?
At Peyton Jordan.
Yeah.
In 2012. So yeah, for a distance runner, yeah, it's a great track. So the weather's always amazing. It's always like beautiful California evening in Palo Alto. So there'll be some fast races for sure.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, we can't wait to watch you. There's one other thing that I read in your intro and bio here that just like really touched on something for me. You said that you weren't one of the kids that grew up dreaming that you wanted to become an Olympic athlete. And I'm like, that's me. I mean, I never even thought I'd go to college. Yeah. And you get these, with the internet now, and I know your following's young and my following's young, and they say, what do I need to do to become an Olympian? And these are like 12, 13, 14-year-old kids. I'm like, dude, just go out and have fun.
Exactly.
And I think that maybe we've, as a society, kind of brainwashed our kids into thinking that they need to like start thinking about that when they're really young and tracking towards it and not riding their bike and not going out for a hike and not going swimming. They need to just focus on their sport. Yeah. Tell me just before we wrap up here, what you think, mentally I certainly feel it was an advantage for me. Was it an advantage for you to just enjoy the sport and feel it out and not feel that pressure?
Yeah, I don't think I knew any pro runners. Like I couldn't name a single professional runner.
St. Louis isn't kicking out pros left and right?
No. I mean, we had Jackie Joyner-Kersee, but I didn't even know who that was. I knew that there was a Jackie Joyner-Kersee Center and it was a stop on the Metrolink, but I didn't know who that person was. Yeah. Like I didn't know what they did. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any posters on my wall or anything like that. And now every week I send a few autograph cards to some kids who reached out on Instagram, saying, hey, I got injured or something, like I'm down in the dumps. And I'll, try and send them an autograph card or something. But they like just the fact that they know who I am and like reach out to me as someone that they, would want advice from or want support from is like, how do you even know who I am?
It's the internet machine. This is insane. Like, have you seen these internet machines?
Like, what the heck? I'm only 26. The internet was around when I was in high school. I don't know. I think I just wasn't in that world at all. And I was doing my own thing. Like I was just focused on like who I was going to see at the state meet that weekend or whatever. And I wasn't really aware of like the bigger picture about running.
Yeah.
So I wasn't making these grandiose plans about going to college and then being a professional runner. Even when I went to college, I wasn't thinking about being a professional runner. I was just like, sick, I'll do this for a few years and then go be a dietitian. Mm-hmm. So it just all kind of developed. And I think just letting it develop naturally has been really nice and really fun to just
in terms of longevity too. I just can't preach that enough, that the fact that you didn't grind like a pro athlete from the age of 12 on. It's going to allow you to run well into your 30s or 40s or 50s or however long you want to take this.
Definitely.
Totally.
The last thing I'll leave our listeners with is just, I don't know if everyone understands how special Colleen is as an athlete and as a person, because every athlete gets requests for autograph cards daily. And I bet 1 in 20 actually do it. But here's Colleen thinking about a kid, on the other side of the country that needs to be lifted up, out of an injury or a tough situation. Colleen, cool. I really do appreciate everything you do for the sport and for young kids out there. Yeah. You're a true role model, and I want to thank you again for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thank you. Yeah, and quickly, I'll just say that if anyone who's out there wants to connect with me, anyone who has hair that wants to connect with me, there's a special way you can do that on Instagram. I've been doing my hair in braids and using the hashtag FastBraidFriday. So every Friday I post a picture of myself in some kind of braided hairstyle. It's always different, and talk about like something that I did in my braids that some challenge that I took on. And even if I'm injured, I'm braiding my hair and then putting a swim cap over it and getting in the pool and doing, working out in the pool that way. But I've get lots of pictures from people who are saying like, hey, won the state meet in my fast braids, or
that's awesome.
I braided my hair and ran up my first marathon, or whatever it is. In any sport, it could be like I was the top scorer on my basketball team this weekend and I wore a braid. So it's been really fun to get messages from people taking on challenges, doing things that scare them, but doing it feeling confident because they did something, that they know other people around the country or around the world are doing.
Creating a community.
Make themselves, make them, build themselves up and get a sense of confidence and empowerment.
I really like that. So I'm going to have Cam braid my hair this Friday.
Yeah,
get out.
The whole office will participate in Fast Braid Fridays.
Woo!
I love it, Colleen. Hey, you're amazing. So you mentioned Instagram. Great. It's at Steeple Squigs, Steeple_Squigs. The website is ColleenQuigley.org. And is that where we can go to sign up for your newsletter?
Yeah. Perfect. There's a banner at the top, or there's a contact button on there, and you can put in your email address for the newsletter, and it's totally free. I send out like once a month tips on workouts or nutrition, recipes, stuff I'm doing, races I'm in, stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
No wonder she's the most requested guest.
Exactly.
She's amazing.
Everybody engages with you. You're so authentic. We really appreciated your time, Colleen.
You guys are great.
Thanks, Colleen.
I'll definitely be hitting you up for advice on my new granola business once I'm done with this whole running business.
Absolutely. Anytime. We got lots of time for you, Colleen, and wishing you very, very healthy training this season.
Thanks so much, guys.
Bye. A big thank you to everyone for joining us on that episode. If you want to find out more or listen to other episodes, go to rungum.com/podcast. Also, please make sure to subscribe on iTunes or your preferred player. I'm Nick Simmons, and you've been listening to the Run the Day podcast. Until next time.